to say that there are 3 students in that class who made between 50 and 59. 5 students in that class made between 60 and 69. 6 students made between 70 and 79. 7 students made a B, and actually only two students made an A between 90 and 99. So let's add all the students. How many students were there? So the first one will ask yourself, what is the total frequency? The total frequency is the number of students in the class. So let's add up. That's 3 plus 5 is 8 plus 8 plus 6 is 14. 14 plus 7 is 21. There are actually 23 students in that class. So there are 23 students in that class. I'm going to make this bigger. That way I can write on this. So so let's make it bigger. Bigger. So I'm going to select this again and try to make it bigger. Okay. Select that and drag it and make it bigger. I'm going to push this one outside. The question says find the mean, the median, the standard deviation, the variance, and 5-number summary of the data given to us. So the first thing we want to do is to, let's write this down. So this is the class given to us. That's the class. And the first thing I want you to do is find the class midpoint for each class. So remember that class midpoint, CMP, is equal to lower limit of the class plus upper limit divided by 2. So 50 plus 59 is 109. 109 divided by 2 is 54.5. So I'm going to put the class midpoint at the right-hand side. Class midpoint at the right-hand side of frequency. Therefore, the class midpoint of the first class is 54.5. 54.5. Okay. And if I look at this data, I notice that the class width of the data is 10. So if the class width is 10 and the first class midpoint is 54.5, I can as well start adding 10 so that I get all the remaining class midpoints. So now I'm going to find the remaining class midpoint. 54.5 plus 10 is 64.5. 64.5 plus 10 is 74.5. 74.5 plus 10 is 84.5. 84.5 plus 10 is 94.5. Okay, so I found all the class midpoints. And I'm going to draw a line here. The total frequency, summation frequency, is the number of students in that class. So the number of students in that class, actually, there are, I'm going to make this 4. So this is 4. So now we have 3 plus 5 is 8 plus 6. 8 plus 6 is 14. 14 plus 7 is 21. 21 plus 4 is 25. So let's make the total frequency is 25. In other words, the number of students in that class is 25. And these are their grades after a test. So they want me to find the mean, the median. What is the mean of that test? What is the median of that test? What is the standard deviation of the test? So I'm told to find a lot of things. Another thing I could be told to find is find is the data skewed? In other words, check the mean and the median and see if they are equal. If the mean is equal to median, the data is not skewed. The data is bell-shaped. If the mean is greater than median, data is skewed right. And if it is if mean is less than median, data is skewed left. So we want to check all those things. Remember, whenever you have a group data, you cannot recover the original data. So we cannot recover the raw data. So the best we can do is to find the class midpoint of each class. And then we found the class midpoint of each class, and we also find the class weight. So now the first data, sometimes you are given a group data. And after you are given a group data, you are told to find the mean, the median, the standard deviation, the variance, the 5-number summary, the interquartile range, and everything. Even though you don't know the raw data, in other words, the data is already grouped for you, and we don't know where the raw data is. They threw it away. So we have to make do with what we are given. So I already pulled my calculator up, and we found the class midpoint already. Remember, we said the class midpoint is the lower limit of each class plus upper limit divided by the 2. Lower limit of first class plus upper limit of first class divided by 2. So that gave me 54.5. And how did I get the other class midpoints? I know that the class width is 10 if I eyeball the data. So I'll keep adding 10 because the class midpoint of the classes are they differ by the class weight. Okay, so this one is 54.5 plus 10, and this is 64.5 plus 10. Okay, so I'm going to clear. So the next thing I want to do is go to STAT, edit, and I'm going to clear whatever is in L1. I don't need it anymore. Now I am going to put in the class midpoint. Oh, let me make sure that I'm recording. That way, those who are not here will, okay, I'm recording. Okay, I'm going to go back. All right, so put the class midpoint in L1. Remember, the reason why we are putting the class midpoint first is because the data is grouped for us. Data is grouped. We don't know the original data, and so we have to use what we are given. So now the class midpoint is in L1, has to be in L1, or has to be the first list. Okay, so 54.5 is the first class midpoint. 64.5 is the second class midpoint. Okay, is the third class midpoint. 84.5, 94.5, and so on. That's all the class midpoints, because we see there are only 5 classes. So because there are only 5 classes, we are expecting only 5 class midpoints. Now, column 2, in other words, I'm going to put the frequency in L2. So this is a grouped data. Therefore, we have frequency. Remember that in raw data, the data that is not grouped, we did not have frequency. But now it's a group data, I have frequency. So 3, enter, 5, enter, 6, 7, and 4. So now I have the class midpoint in L1. I have frequency. What I want to do is to do the one variable data of L1 and L2. So remember how to do one variable stat. So I'll go to stat, arrow to calc, and do one variable stat. So I'm doing one variable stat of L1 and L2. My calculator is asking me, where is your class midpoint? My class midpoint is in L1. Now the next question is, do you have frequency? Yes. Because this is a group data, I have frequency list. So I better tell my calculator where the frequency list is. So the frequency list is at L2, and then I'm going to calculate. Frequency list is in L2, so I'm going to calculate. So now I have all the one variable stat that my calculator has given me. So now the next thing I want to do is find the mean. The first thing I'm told to find is the mean. And this data is a population. Because this data is a population, let me write the mean. In other words, all the characteristics I'm going to have here are going to be the parameters, the population parameters. That's what I have now. Why? Because the data is from it's a population data. Okay, so the mean, everybody look. I will not write X bar. I will write mu. So mu is equal to, what is my calculator give me? 76.1. The mu is 76.1. The median is the same as the second quartile. So I'm going to find what the median is. I will arrow down and find the median. The median is 74.5. So 74.5 is the median. Okay, and I'm told to find the standard deviation. So remember, this data is a group data. So I am going to find the population standard deviation. So this is the population standard deviation. But this one is the sample standard deviation. I will find the population standard deviation to 1 decimal point. Okay, if I find it to 1 decimal point, the population standard deviation, sigma x, is 12.5. So the population standard deviation is 12.5. Now I'm going to find the variance. Everybody remember that the variance is the square of the standard deviation. So for me to find the variance, I do not want to use 12.5. Because if I do, I have already truncated LA. So this is how I'm going to find the population population variance. Okay, so the population variance, I am actually going to copy everything. So how do I do that? I will go to vars, and go to statistic. And now I will select population standard deviation, which is number 4. And when I hit enter, I will have all I have the population standard deviation with all the 9 decimal points. Var statistics gives me all the 9 decimal points. Then I will square the population standard deviation to get the variance. So when I square my answer, I'll get 157.4. So the population variance is 157.4. So I'm going to write it here. Population variance is 157.4. So I found the population variance. I found this population standard deviation. Now the next one I'm going to find is 5-number summary. So what is the 5-number summary? Okay, the 5-number summary, I'll go back to my calculator and find that 5-number summary. So that 5-number summary, let's go back to start, arrow to calc. You wonder why I'm doing it again, because it's no longer in my screen. And then I know that my class midpoint is in L1, the frequency is in L2, because this is a group data. So I have frequency. So now I am going to calculate again. All right. So now I'm about to find the 5-number summary. The 5-number summary are here. So whenever you are told to find the 5-number summary, you do a one variable start and you get all the 5-number summary there. So I have it. I took a picture of it because if I touch my calculator, it's going to disappear. Okay, so now my 5-number summary is minimum number. So I am going to actually grab this and move it out of the way so I can write my 5-number summary here. So 5-number summary, 5-number summary, 5-number summary. All right, so the first one is minimum number. So the minimum number, according to what my calculator gave me, is 54.5. Minimum number is 54.5. The first quartile, Q1, is 64.5. The median is 74.5. The median is the same as second quartile. It is 74.5. The third quartile is 84.5. Q3 is 84.5. And the maximum number is 94.5. So maximum number, max, is 94.5. Okay, so now that I have all the statistics that I'm asked to find, suppose I'm told to find the interquartile range also. Remember, we know the interquartile range, IQR. So the IQR is equal to third quartile minus first quartile. And what is third quartile? Third quartile is 84.5. And the first quartile is 64.5. All right. 84.5 minus 64.5 is 20. Therefore, the third quartile is, therefore, the IQR interquartile range. So the interquartile range is 20. So we have found, and I could be told to draw a box plot of this data. So if I'm told to draw a box plot of the data, I can actually draw that on the same screen. So I'm going to draw a box plot of the data. So we know the Busk and Whisker plot, which we drew in our middle school. So these are the whiskers. So I know the first number summary. I'm going to bring down this a little bit so I can move it down a little bit. Okay, so the minimum number, we already know that as 54.5. So the minimum number is at the tail of the box plot. So 54.5. 0.5. The first quartile is 64.5. The median is 74.5. So what I'm saying is that you could be told to draw a box plot of, you already know the 5-number summary. All you need to do is put the 5-number summary in your calculator. So I mean in the on the diagram. So I have 84.5, and then the maximum number is 94.5. Okay, so that is the box plot of the data. I have already found the interquartile range. So I found everything I am told to find, just because I know how to use the calculator. So if you know how to use the calculator, you can answer all the questions without any problem. Let's see. So we are told to find the mean, the median, the standard deviation, the variance, the 5-number summary of this data. And the data is a population. This data is a population data. Population data. In other words, all the statistics we will find, all the one variables that are parameters. All the one variable stats, the mean is a parameter. In other words, I'm going to write mu there. Mean is a parameter. Notice that I use sigma for standard deviation because it's population standard deviation. Sigma squared is the variance. So I have answered all the questions. All right, I'm going to now go to the practice test, the sample practice test, and I'll answer the question there on grouped data. So at the end of the day, you should be able to answer questions on group data. At the end of the day, we will answer questions on group data. Okay. So I am now going to pull up the practice test that is in Blackboard. So this, I call this a sample test because it's a sample test from the other class. So I will quickly make your own practice test for you. So this is a sample test from last year. Unit 1 test for the class. This is not the class. This is not our own though. Okay, so I am going to look into this practice test, and I want to see, is there any group data here? There should be one group data or two. So I'm looking for a group data so I can answer questions on the grouped data. So here, I am told to find the variance, but this is not a group data. Okay, well, number 10 is a group data. One of the, this is one of the questions students don't like for some reasons. So let me actually copy this group data and see if I can put it in my, I'm going to copy this group data, just this one, and see if I can put it in my, so I'm copying it. I want to see if I can put it in my whiteboard. So it is my whiteboard, and I'm going to move the whiteboard up a little bit, and I'm going to try and paste this data there, see how it's going to go. So I am going to get a text box. Okay, and try to second V. Okay, well, it copied. Hopefully, let me see how it goes. Let me see how it goes. It copied. Let's see. How did it copy? Is it looking good? And then after I can, let me move it a little bit. See, I'm going to move it down and then try and spread it out. Okay, and I want to answer this question here, or I can change. So the reason why I copied this is to make sure So I really want to make sure that, okay, and I'm trying to see if I can, okay, make some things out of, okay. All right. Okay, so I need to look back and make sure that the data is copied well. All right. Okay, so it's not copied well, but I can fix some things there. Okay, so what I want to do now is I am given a group data that is horizontal. The first thing I want to do is change the horizontal group data to vertical. I just want to change, this is temperature and days. Okay, so I will actually eyeball the original data so that I'm going to eyeball the original data because the copy didn't look good. All right, so I am going to make it smaller. Make this smaller. Okay, I'm going to cancel this. Okay, and I am going back to the original data, and I am trying to, this is another one. Okay, so this is the data I'm talking about right here. Okay, I want to change the horizontal group data to vertical group data. That is very, very important because it helps me, it makes my work easier. It just makes my work easier. So makes my work easier. Okay. So vertical group data. So I'm going to make it vertical group data. So, and there's, we can read the question later on. The only thing I want to copy are the classes and the frequency. The classes and the frequency. So this is class and this is frequency. Okay. And the first class is 50 to 59. Um, this is the temperature, high temperature. So we're talking about how many days do we have high temperature here? So we have from 50 to 59, only one day. So we had one day that we have for high temperature. So I'm going to go back 60 to 69. It depends on the interval of, let's see, what is the interval? How many years are they talking about? For a summer, okay. In a city, okay. Oh, for 130 years. Okay, I see. 130 years. So the data range from 130 years. So for 130 years, the temperature was between 50 and 59, one day only. And then for 60 to 69 degree Fahrenheit, we have 311. 311 right here. 60 to 69. For 70 to 79, we actually have 1,465 days. 70 to 79, 1,479 days. For, oh, actually, well, let's look at it. For 1,465. It's 1,465 days. Let's make sure we correct that. 1,465 days. Okay, for 80 to 89, we have 1,502. For 80 to 89, 1,502 days had high temperatures. Okay, and then let's see, is that the last? So we can check and see. That's not the last class. Okay, we have two more classes. 90 to 99, we have 457. 90 to 99, 457. 99, 457. And the last class, 100 to 109, there are 14 days. 100 to 109, 100 to 109. We have 14 days. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is find the class midpoint. Remember, this is a group data. So for you to, when you're given a group data, you don't really have the raw data anymore. The raw data is discarded, is thrown away. You're only working with the group. So the first thing you want to do is create the class midpoint. So in this particular question, it is horizontal. The table given to me is horizontal. So the first thing I did is change the table, the classes from horizontal to vertical, and then find the class midpoint. So this time I'm looking for the class midpoint. The class midpoint is lower limit plus upper limit divided by 2. So lower limit 50 plus 59 divided by 2. It is 54.5. First class midpoint. 54.5. Well, let's check the width. The class width is 10. So the next class midpoint is going to be 64.5 again, like the other one. 74.5. 84.5, 94.5, and 104.5. So remember, step one, copy the diagram or the classes given to you and make it horizontal. And make sure you copied it right. Make the frequency vertical again, from horizontal to vertical. Then the first step or second step is to find the class midpoint of each class. Then the next thing, you have to use your calculator. You must, otherwise calculation will be difficult. So the next thing is use your calculator to put the class midpoint in L1 or your first list, frequency your second list. So let's go to STAT and enter. And I'm going to clear because I don't need what I have in L1 and L2. I don't need it anymore. So I'm going to clear enter. All right, so now I am going to put in the class midpoint in L1, frequency in L2, because this is a group data. In a group data, you have frequency. Okay, so let me do that. So the in L1 has to be my class midpoint. So 54.5, enter. 64.5, enter. 74.5, enter. 84.5, enter. 94.5, enter. 104.5, enter. 104.5, enter. Okay, so the um, last class midpoint is 104.5. So the next thing now is to go to L2 and tell my calculator that I have frequency. I have frequency because this data is not a raw data. This data is a group data. I don't know where the raw data is. So I must have frequency. Because I'm given a group data, I must have frequency. So what is the first frequency? In other words, which frequency corresponds with the first class? First one is 1. The frequency of the second class is 311. The frequency of the third class is 1465. Frequency of the fourth class is 1502. Frequency of the fifth class is 457. Frequency of the last class is 14. And that's all the frequencies. When I finish, I have to eyeball my data, make sure that none of them is longer than the other. None of them is longer than the other. So now I can do one variable start. One variable start of a grouped data. That's what we're doing. So I'm going to go to start, arrow to calc, and do one variable start of a group data. So one variable start of a group data. So the class midpoint is in my L1, frequency is in my L2. So everything is right. Remember, we have frequency. Even if okay, I'm going to clean this. Let me clear L2. Let me clear that frequency. And so in frequency list, there is nothing there right now, but it's your responsibility to show your calculator that you have frequency in L2. Your responsibility. Then you calculate. So I'm going to calculate. So I just calculated, and this is population data again. So I'm told to find the mean of the data. The question told me to find the mean and the standard deviation. Let me pull the question up again. So that is the question. I'm going to pull it up so the question told me to find the mean and the standard deviation, and actually told me to draw a frequency histogram. So I will be drawing a frequency histogram later on. And according to the empirical rule, so empirical rule we will talk about next class. According to empirical rule, so next class we shall be talking about empirical rule. And then we will, according to this 6895, 99.7 rule. So we were talking about empirical rule next class. But for now, we're going to answer the question on that data. The important thing is that I'm given a data that is horizontal. It's a group data. It's horizontal. So the first thing I want to do is make the data vertical. That's what I just did. Make it vertical. And then I'm told to find the mean, find the median, draw a histogram. So these are what we have done already. So as soon as I find the mean, I already did because my calculator gave me the mean and the standard deviation. They asked me to find the mu and the sigma because the data is a population standard deviation. It's a population data. So the mu is 81 points. Let me see how many, round to one decimal place. So the mean is 81.5, and the population standard deviation is 7.2. The mean is 81.5, so I will come over here and write 81.5, 81.5, 81.5 here. All right, I'm going to go back to my, so the mean mu is 81.5, and the population standard deviation sigma is 7.2 approximately. So we have answered the question. Or the next thing we are told to do is to draw a histogram of the data. Well, even though we're not given a raw data, we can still draw a histogram of the group data from what we have. So let's do that. So I'm given a group data. I don't know the original data, but they told me to draw a histogram of the data. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, check the data I entered are still there. The data I entered is still there. Remember, I found the class midpoint and entered the class midpoint in L1. Then I entered the frequencies in L2. It's time for me to draw a histogram of this data right now. And by the way, I could also be told to find the 5-number summary of this data. I could be told to find the interquartile range. We already know how to do that. Okay? All right. So I am told to draw a histogram of this data. So let me do that. I am going to second y equals, which is start plot, and I'll select plot 1. And then I'm told to draw a histogram, so I'll select histogram. Histogram is number 3. Then I'm going to arrow down. I should have class midpoint in L1 and frequency in L2. Remember, this is a grouped data, so you really have a frequency list. So my frequency list is L2. So frequency list is L2. And I'm done. I am ready to draw a histogram. So now I'm going to draw a rough sketch by saying zoom 9. So I'm going to click zoom. Remember, whenever you click zoom on your calculator gives you this argument. If you click zoom and your calculator gives you this argument, you have to exit the main screen, exit to the main screen, exit to the main screen. So now I'm on main screen. I'm sorry, I had to. So the main screen right now, what I'm going to do is zoom 9, zoom 9. So this is the histogram it gave me. It doesn't look like a histogram. I have to do something. The histogram it gave me doesn't look like a histogram. And by the way, there's a line on it. So I'm going to go to wipe walls and clear that line. So, and the next thing I'm going to do is go to Windows, go back to second quit, go to my zoom 9 again so I can fix that zoom 9. So I see, look at that. So I have to go to Windows. What do I do in Windows? When I go to Windows, like the other day, I am going to go to Xscale and change whatever is there to the class weight. For me to have the same histogram or the number of bars, so the number of bars here should be 6 because there are 6 classes. So I'm going to put 10 there. Why did I put 10 there? Because the distance between consecutive lower limits is 10. The width of this class is 10. So now I can draw the histogram. I can draw the histogram. And by the way, our minimum shouldn't be negative. I can just put minimum to negative 20. That's okay there. And then if you notice that the highest frequency is 1502. But anyway, the important thing is that I'm just going to graph. Anytime you change something in Windows, you do not, anytime you change something in Windows, you do not zoom 9 again, like we said. Okay, so this looks like it is the density curve or the histogram. If I superimpose the density curve here, it looks like it is normally distributed, like it's bell-shaped. How do I confirm whether this is bell-shaped? How do I confirm? Find the mean and the median. If the mean and the median are approximately equal, then it is bell-shaped. It looks like it's bell-shaped, but I can confirm that it's bell-shaped when I find the mean and the median and they are equal. Okay, So anyway, the histogram looks like it's approximately normal, but that's not enough. So I'm going to go back to stat again so that I can do a one variable stat and I'll eyeball the mean and the median. So one variable stat of the data in L1 and L2 so that I can find the mean. The mean is 81.5. We're going to arrow down to find the median. Median is 84.5. So the median is a little bit, it's not even a little bit. The median is greater than the mean. So the data is actually skewed left. This data is skewed left.